You are here. I understand that. But before we get into a discussion about that, if you don't mind, is there a question about anything else other than Senate Bill 250 that I might ask for you? Yes, ma'am.
Two things. On that unemployment change, now you said that's going to put money back in small business owners' pockets?
Yes.
Can you explain that? Because I'm not connecting that.
Sure. Because what it does is they don't have to pay as high, and Robert's back there shaking his head, he can probably answer it better. Because what will end up happening is they don't have to pay out for 3 weeks longer and the rate drops. Because it's not like they're going to get a check back, but they're not having to send as much to the unemployment fund. And subsequently, they get to keep that money instead of forwarded on.
Okay.
Oh, second question? Yeah, second question. Or go ahead.
I know that government money has pockets, and when you have it that way, you can only spend it on certain things.
Right.
But I know we have a large surplus in our budget here in Arkansas because we are taxed so high. But anyway, I'll skip that part right now. Is there any way we could take at least a portion of that and apply it to building a new prison?
Okay. So everything is being looked at as far as how to finance that. And let me just, I'm not dodging. Yeah, okay. Let me put on top of that, part of what we also need to do is the crime lab is in terrible shape. If you've ever toured the crime lab, you would know it is in terrible shape. And the crime lab, everybody thinks, well, that's not an important part of the function. Rodney might nod his head yes or no on this.
Yes, it is.
It is an important part of the function because that's where the evidence is collected and that's where they make determination in order to give prosecution the best chance of locking up the people. And the condition of the crime lab doesn't, I don't want to give the impression that it's not functioning, but it is slowly falling behind. And the capacity that the crime lab is having to operate under makes it very limiting. For example, turning around rape kits and the time it takes around. And the longer it takes to get that done, the longer somebody stays out there and can't be prosecuted. To your question, one of the things that we are, I mean, obviously we want to get personal income tax, we want to get that down as low as we can. But also, yes, we have a healthy surplus. As I've said before, some of that's because of the economic times that we're in with the large influx of federal money that's coming down that has helped accumulate a lot of that. One of the things that we also have to balance is a lot of people have asked for the LEARNS Act. A lot of people have asked for that option that comes with the price tag. And some of that surplus money is going to be paid up with that in order to happen, in order for it to happen like people have been asking for it to happen with the LEARNS Act. But I do think that that is going to be, and we're still waiting for the governor's letters. And what that means is, what would the governor like here, there, and everywhere else? There are, and Rick, you may be able to help me out, I've lost track. The last time I heard, as far as legislation that's been sponsored, I've mentioned this before, legislation that has been submitted that's sitting in revenue tax right now, if we gave all those little tax requests that everybody asked for, then it would be, last time out, 300, I think it's up to maybe about 900. It's somewhere between 300 north of that. You know, so they're just sitting on all those bills because one of the things we got to do is see what we had to wait to see what the fiscal impact was going to be on the LEARNS Act, but we also have to wait to see what the fiscal impact of the prison is going to be and factor that into it, and then hopefully be able to give a tax rate. Yes, ma'am.
I saw today that the LEARNS went through the House, headed back to the Senate for the amendment. What is the amendment?
A couple things in the amendment, Rick helped me out on this. A couple things in the amendment. One of it was just a little tweak as far as when the safety portion of the safety section, they had left out not including hospitals in the required coming together as a community. They had left that part out. One of it was about the Fair Teacher Dismissal Act, that it was brought to our attention actually by some of the superintendents that said, hey, we want to make sure that, you know, I'll give you an example. We want to make sure that principal or superintendent just doesn't have it in for somebody because maybe a coach didn't let their kid play basketball. They just want an extra layer of protection in there. So we didn't go, and the way it was illustrated, we went from 60 to 0, we went back to 10. So I mean, as far as the process, it's still there where teachers will have that layer of protection or school employees have that layer of protection, but it certainly doesn't go back all the way to where it went. And Rick, what's, remember?
You got it, those are the main ones.
Those are the main ones, okay. All right, yes, ma'am.
Is one of the amendments not that we have pay scales put back in place?
On the pay scales, the way that that's going to be handled is that it raised the salary to 50,000, and then for everybody, and I need a little help on this one, Mayor Rick, everybody above a certain level, it took the pay scales away, but what it does do, and to my shameless plug, Saturday on my radio show, if everything works out right, I got Jonathan Dismayne supposed to be on, and the secretary is supposed to be on of Ed. What it does do is it allows for the school districts to be able to go back and to build in those scales to where that they are able to reward those teachers based on the revised method of which the cash has come in. That's kind of a 100,000-foot explanation, but that was the theory, that we want to put it back into the local control so that the local school districts do that. Rick?
And that was the other change in the amendment. Instead of the school district may put their own tier level in, to shall put it in.
So. See,
Jim, the heritage study that showed us as number 6, the biggest hit we took was on purging the voter rolls, people that have moved out of state or have died or whatever. And I know Saline County does a fantastic job of that. But some of the other counties, Pulaski, Phillips, some others, I guess is why we're rated so low in that area. What the legislation you're running, how does it handle the purging of voter rolls?
it'll actually go in and address the purging, but here's Clint. I think that's one of the ones we're working on.
Are you talking about the voter purge bill?
Yeah.
Well, there's one that Representative McClure is working on, and then there's another one that I have given to you, Senator, that operates in a kind of the same way but doesn't make it a constitutional amendment. My understanding last I heard was that BLR with them putting their twist on it.
Okay. Rick, you want to talk about your bill?